here at a petrol station and we're finally gonna know what's the MPG in this tank. Back to full. Now, let's zero this. I'll probably get going and let you into the numbers on the way, because I'm getting late. So we've traveled on one tank 748 kilometers, 0.3, and I've just filled it with 49.08 liters. Doing some simple maths, this means that the fuel consumption has been 6.55 liters per 100 kilometers. I don't really know how to convert liters per 100 kilometers to miles to the gallon, but I think this would work at about 40 miles to the gallon, 45. This road is terrible. It's bearable because we are in this car, but in the Alpha, it's the end of the world. Now, let me give you a bit of context. I've cheated because my parents took this car to a weekend trip 2 weeks ago. Look at him go. Yeah, you're great. And the smoke. My dad is not an hypermiler, but is a bit more careful nowadays. He used to be a bit aggressive. But even then, at some point, he was doing 140 kilometers on the highway. So you see, this was not a really economical trip. It was a normal trip. The average speed on the motorway was about 115, 120 kilometers an hour. He went down some B routes doing 90, 100 kilometers an hour. This helped fuel consumption. So smooth, you know? Thanks, soundproofing. Anyway, that doesn't tell you the whole story, because I've done 200 kilometers on my daily trips, going to work and back. It's not the worst route ever. You don't have a lot of lights. There isn't really that much traffic. But yeah, it's still a short distance. You still have to stop for pedestrians, for crossings, and all that. Now, this is a 20-year-old car. This is really not the latest technology. This was the latest technology when it came up in the R8 Rover 200/400, a 16-valve twin-cam engine in '89. But when this car was launched, the competition was catching up, and this was in '95. So 25 years have gone by since that. We know that the future is the electric car. There are still a couple hybrid solutions, and even if we talk about purely internal combustion engines, most engines are now smaller and they have some weight. Most of these engines have a small turbo that helps give them a bit more punch at lower revs. The modern diesel engines really changed everything for the average driver, because people don't like actually having to rev engines to get anything out of them. And I think, yes, the economy part was important, but part of the success of the diesel engines was that you really didn't have to rev those engines to make good progress. And in smaller petrol engines, you have to do that. It's changing a little bit nowadays, but yeah. And here's another thing. A lot of cars in the 90s were a lot heavier than the cars they were replacing, obviously because of size. People wanted bigger cars inside because of safety, but most of the time they were still using the same engines as the cars they were replacing. Sometimes they even had a catalytic converter and they lost a few bhp. It's the same with this car. This engine was really miraculous on the R8. It was really punchy. It's still okay in this car, and it still goes if you rev it. I mean, it goes relatively well. What I want to say is, it's not a very torquey engine. It's a relatively heavy car. This one has 30 more kilos worth of soundproofing, and I almost forgot the wheels. It's riding on 195 tires, and the original ones were 175 65 R14, yes. I've also upgraded the throttle body. The original one was a 48mm and this one is a 52. So there's always more air coming inside, and this should lead to the engine not being as economical. You could also argue that the extra power, it's just a little bit, but you can notice it, due to the throttle body, would make it a bit more torquey and a bit more economical, because I don't have to rev it as much. But yeah, all things considered, I think that 6.55 liters per kilometers is a great figure. It's really very economical. And like I said, there's some margin for improvement. I think this could do 6. Hell, if you avoided motorways, I think this could go under 6, probably 5.5. But that's not real world conditions, is it? This is sort of a bland update on this car, talking about fuel consumption. But really, at this point, this is the comfortable car, this is the capable car in the fleet. The 33 is the one that sings and that dances. The BX is the quirky, comfortable French car, but it's kind of old and we are taking care of it slowly, step by step. This is the best all-rounder, I have no doubt about it. So when I hop in this, I expect it to be comfortable, smooth, to go well enough, but I don't expect it to be a rocket, and I expect it to be economical. If I ever replaced this car, I would have to buy an E39. I really like the E39, and the only way of finding a place in the fleet would be selling this one. But you know, the car is doing its job very well, and I find it difficult to just let it go after all the work, soundproofing, everything, almost everything. And it's still in good working order, and it's looking good. We are now getting near my favorite part of the N2. The N2 has been made popular in the last years in Portugal because it's considered Route 66 in Portugal, because it's a lot shorter, obviously. Portugal is not a big country. It's around 650-700 kilometers, but it goes from Chaves, right in the north, to Faro. You are treated to several different landscapes as you're driving down that route. Effectively, you're driving down because you're going south. And it's very interesting, and you can stop at very picturesque places. I don't think this one is very picturesque, and the road surface is actually quite bad, but in this car it's okay. And we're getting near now, so I'm gonna change it to the other camera. And why do I like this road? It's simple. Because it has a lot of corners. I'm not really gonna hoon because I don't want to ruin fuel consumption, and because my dog is here, and because I don't think this is the right car to do that, although it can. But yeah, can do it at a brisk pace. I've just thrown my wallet to the ground because it was sliding.